you know what? Let's just shift to that game, or we'll shift to the injury stuff because Lamar Jackson got hurt. His is what did John Harbaugh called it? Days or weeks?
Yeah, it's pretty vague.
Is day to week to day?
Like, imagine calling your boss tomorrow. I'm going to be out of days or weeks.
Brinson doesn't have to imagine. He doesn't.
I know. It's just I did imagine it. Life. Sounds amazing.
Brinson goes AWOL for days or weeks.
Tua got dinged up, and but I think the initial reporting is that he should be fine. And then of course Jimmy Garoppolo out for the season. Like those 3 injuries, and Tua again, we think Tua will be fine. Those 3 injuries are like cataclysmic. I can't say the word.
Cataclysmic.
Thank you.
Breech, you can say a word that Brinson can't.
Yes.
I knew as soon as it was trying to come out of my mouth, I knew I would be able to say it. I still
you get the sound bite of Brinson.
Oh my God. I was like, what else works? It just shifts the landscape so dramatically in the NFC because the 49ers were coming on strong and they still won, right? And that's good. They beat the Dolphins. The final score there was 33-17. Christian McCaffrey looked awesome. Brock Purdy played pretty freaking well coming in for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's a testament to that system. 25-37, 210, 2 touchdowns and a pick, but we're still talking about Mr. Irrelevant here. And you look at the numbers, Kyle Shanahan, the quarterback wins notwithstanding, like Jimmy Garoppolo does a really good job in that system. Tua Tagovailoa probably had his worst game in a couple of weeks.
It was 5. What was he? 5-0, 8-0, whatever it was since he came back from the concussion as a starter, played the full game. So that was his first loss.
Well, he didn't finish the game either, did he? So technically,
so he gets out to get a loophole.
Yeah, Dolphins fans are already tweeting about that. I think we can safely toss Tua out of the MVP race. Christian McCaffrey, just 3.9 yards per carry, but looked pretty good and very strong in the receiving game. 8 catches on 10 targets, 80 yards and a touchdown, including a game-sealing play from scrimmage. I mean, it's just like the 49ers were becoming the darling of the NFC, and it was like sort of they were going to play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Like it was almost a fait accompli. And now, Wilson, you apparently like them more.
Yeah, this is the perfect time for me to promote my podcast with the first pick. You can check it out wherever you get your podcast, Breech, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast Machine, YouTube channels, the Pick Six Podcast. Subscribe. New show tomorrow with me and Rick Spielman, talking about the conference championship games. But I mentioned all that because as the junior draft analyst on the Pick Six Podcast, I went back and checked my notes on Brock Purdy coming out of Iowa State, and I had him graded. He was QB 12, so didn't have him graded high. Had him as a late day 3 guy, undrafted free agent. Ended up going Mr. Irrelevant, as Brinson mentioned, which is the very last player taken in that particular draft class. And I went back and looked at the notes, and the issue was last year. 2 years ago, he actually balled out. Like he actually played some really good football, and there was top 150 conversation that if he sort of parlayed that into last season's.
It was like Heisman sleeper conversation in like first round.
And then last year, the wheels just fell off. But I went back looking at the notes. Like part of the issue was he made some bad decisions. Decision-making was suspect. He would try to fit every ball into every tight window imaginable last season. That said, he made a lot of off-platform throws. He threw accurately on the move. He gave his receivers chances to catch the ball and run after the catch a lot of times. And what else did he do? And and he threw with anticipation. All things that seem to work in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Now, look, I'm not saying they're a better football team now than they were with Jimmy G. But as our guy Stephen O noted after doing 4 trillion simulations, the 49ers went from 11.3 wins to 11 wins without Jimmy G. So I don't think that's so much as an indictment on Jimmy G as it is that you could fit a quarterback into the system because there's so many other complementary pieces around him, starting with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk. And that lights out world best defense. And I think that's the takeaway because you're not losing Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. You're losing a guy who lost his job over the offseason because Kyle Shanahan didn't love him. And that said, Jimmy G was playing some of the best football of his career, no doubt about it. He'll get a job somewhere, be a starter next year, no doubt about that. But I think at the end of the day, and this is what I told Breech on HQ, they're going to win the division. I love Seattle, but I don't think Seattle's going to run them down. And I think they have a chance to win one game. Beyond that, in the playoffs, beyond that, all bets are off.
And I'll just add in real quick. This is where the part where Wilson and I disagreed. Although the regular season winning percentage does not change much when you go to Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo. I get that.
The win playoff percentages go way down.
The Super Bowl percentage in particular goes down 20%, and that's what it goes down from 10% to 8%. That's
2%, but yes.
2% of 10% is 1/5. So it drops. It's a 20% drop, Brinson. Do we need to do a math lesson live on air?
Oh, we can't say cataclysmic.
No,
You can't do
say
math.
it drops 20% because it drops 2.7%.
Right. I'm giving a rough estimate.
I agree with you. We agree with you. Listen, we don't need to be particular.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
I agree with you.
But that's the point.
Focus on not the wins because they can win the games and the schedule is easy enough. They can win the games without Jimmy G.
Right, but once you get to the postseason, it's a whole different animal, especially when you're starting a rookie quarterback. For one, a rookie quarterback has never won the Super Bowl. So, and there's a reason for that. It's high pressure situations every single week. It's a lot to put a rookie into. And historically, they fail miserably once you get to the postseason. So like Wilson said, I do agree they could probably still win the division, but I would be I was going to say shocked, maybe stunned. One of those two if they get to the Super Bowl, and I'd be surprised if they even get to the NFC title game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you're picking teams that you expect to meet in the Super Bowl, you're picking somebody to come out of the NFC. I think you probably have San Francisco fourth at most with the Brock Purdy situation, right? I mean, you're asking a lot of a dude who is the last pick of the NFL draft to come in and work. And like it is always easier too to come in off the bench and to sort of, to like jump in and just sort of, you don't have time to prepare. You don't have time to think about it. Like you're sort of like, your brain takes over. You just kind of do what you naturally used to doing and work in the playbook. I think having to get the pressure of the playoffs and all of that would be, it's just too much for him. I think. I mean, I would go Philly, Minnesota, Tampa, Dallas over San Francisco. No particular order. With Brock Purdy in there versus with Jimmy G in there. Personally,
I would swap Tampa and San Francisco in no particular order. I'm
just going to take Tom Brady.
That's fine. I'm so far.
Tom Brady versus Brock Purdy. Who's winning that wild card?
Brock Purdy.
This is how Wilson's like, hey, the 49ers got better today, and Brock Purdy's. By the way,
I didn't say that. I was quite honest with what I said.
It stinks that we don't get Jimmy G versus Tom Brady next week. By the way, that's lame.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
Handsome Bowl.
The
football
biggest
gods hate us.